Good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 292. This is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PlayStation Network, you can find me at anchorlist_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. You can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And don't forget to share the show with your friends. Make sure you leave comments, rate our podcast, get us moving in the algorithm. As a reminder, we're a video podcast as well, so if you'd rather watch us do the podcast, you can do so on our YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed to that. And for new and or long-time listeners, we have a Patreon. You can support the show for $1 a month, and that is the $1 level, called the one and only $1 Club. Head over to www.patreon.com/PS This Is Awesome. Become a $1 patron to get your free die-cut vinyl sticker and a shout-out on the show. Before we go any further, I want to just remind the audience that we used to be a Monday morning podcast, meaning Patreon subscriber or not. Show would air on Monday mornings. We have made a slight shift in our engagement with you. Non-patrons will get the show now Wednesday mornings on YouTube and on their favorite streaming platforms and or preferred streaming platform. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, you will probably get the show by Monday morning. That is the plan. We've made some changes. If you're not sure why, listen to episode 291, and we go into detail at the beginning of that show about why we're going to try this out. If you have any gripes or if you think it's a good idea, you can always chime in on the YouTube comments or just leave us a message to our email account or whatever. But that is how we are moving forward. So, Jake, how are you doing today, this beautiful Sunday morning?
Yeah, we were blessed with a pretty dope weekend as far as Memorial Day goes, or Labor Day? Labor Day. Sorry, Memorial Day is in the spring. I always get those mixed up. Labor Day weekend, freaking beautiful weather. Yeah. I was riding my dirt bike all day yesterday, and so I'm fucking dying today. But have you ever overexerted yourself? And I don't know if you've ever had this happen, but when you overexert yourself, it probably has to do with dehydration, but it almost feels like having a hangover.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like when I play concerts, like the next morning, sometimes I feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, typically, like this morning, I'm just sore. I don't feel I don't know, I call it like a pseudo nausea because I'm not fully nauseous, just like an uneasy feeling and then like the headache and stuff. Yeah. I had that like all last night after I got home. And then, which is crazy because I drank probably a gallon of water while I was riding. So it's not like I wasn't, trying to stay hydrated, but I don't know. I think a lot of people, like, when you do physical activities, not just like dirt bikes, but like, running or sports or whatever, like they'll take apples and shit, like apples and snacks, bananas and stuff, and eat those, like eat that kind of sugary, like fruity kind of stuff while you're working. And I guess it helps. I don't know. I was thinking about trying that.
Like gerbil food? Yeah.
Gerbil food. Yeah. Maybe some fucking wood chips.
Gerbil, man. Do people even own gerbils anymore? Sorry, go ahead.
That is a great question. I don't know.
It used to be a thing.
You have to go to do pet stores even exist anymore? Because you'd have to buy one of those probably at like a pet store.
Yeah.
Although the guy I work with has snakes and he just buys them online and they send them to him in the mail, which to me is crazy.
Dude, you want to prank somebody? Buy a snake and have send him to their house. That'll screw someone. That's a good April Fool's joke.
The snakes that he buys, it would be a little bit expensive for an April Fool or a prank. But yeah, anyway, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's morning. I had a relatively late night last night, but not too late. I was doing some streaming of The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 2. I'm trying to get these all done in one shots, and I almost got through Episode 2, And I ran into a situation where I felt like they couldn't progress it at all. And I was like really agitated. So I just kind of stopped the stream. And then I got up early this morning for the podcast. And then I was like, well, I'm going to see if that was a glitch or what. And I was able to get past it a little bit this morning. So I'm going to probably finish off that stream by the evening. That game's so good, man. It's really good. So I'm good. I had a concert Friday. My amp, my JCM 900 was doing something really weird, which it's usually always reliable. And we set up, it's one of those things where like, I don't get to feel like our band or our, now I'm talking about One of by Land, not the Flood, that we get to do many shows. And when we do, it's usually people who don't know what we do, what we're about, or there's like 5 people there. So the show on Friday was at Lavery Brewing, and it was all these old school dudes from the old scene that knew exactly our lineage and where we came from. So they were all excited to see One of by Land play because they either haven't seen us yet or had heard about us and hadn't seen us and wanted to see us, or had seen us so long ago that they were excited to see us again. And this isn't everybody that was there, but there were a good portion of people that were there. So once in a blue moon, when I show up and play a punk rock concert, ego's not the what I'm trying to associate here, but like you walk in and you can just sense that everybody's stoked to hear you play, right? It's a good feeling when you're a songwriter and you do this shit and you've been doing it for more than half your life, that like you finally found a crowd that like actually cares about what the fuck you're about to do. So as you're setting your gear up and your stuff, you're like, man, this is going to be electric tonight. Like, it's going to be an awesome performance. We're going to be on fire. Like, people know what we can do, what we can bring, the style of music we play. And it's like dudes from like this old band called Good Intentions are there. There are people from, oh no, it's Mustard Gas are there. These punk rock guys that like come out. I've always been in bands that have been bands. Like, I feel like the stuff that I write kind of falls a little short. This isn't a dig on the general music listener, but like we don't write like the most approachable music, but I think like other musicians really usually generally appreciate what we do. So I'm getting my amp set up and I flip on the switches. You can hear the tube wow turn on. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And then I take off standby and everybody, like the place is like really packed and my amp just goes like it's deafening. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like instantly deflated all of my like whatever mojo I had going, confidence, everything just went right through the fucking floor. Like, and I'm like, I start sweating and I'm up on stage. And I'm like, God, what the hell is happening here? So I turn standby back on and the sound goes away. And I'm like, it's probably a bad speaker cable. So Troy's leaning over and I'm like, yo, dude, talk and see if one of the other bands have an extra speaker cable. Paul's like, hey, I got one on mine. So we swap out speaker cables. I'm like, hopefully to God, that's all that was. Stand by. Doing it again. And I'm like, God damn it. So then I'm like, all right, Troy, take my cord and plug your guitar into it. Let's rule out it being an issue with my input on my guitar. He plugs in. You know, in the meantime, like everybody in the crowd's just going like this, like wincing because it's so fucking loud. And it has nothing to do with the volume of my amp. It's just like, this is the sound it's deciding to make. And I go, all right, so we've ruled that out. I said, all right, here, let's grab your instrument cable, Troy, that is working in your amp. Take it, unplug it, plug it into my amp directly. Avoid the fucking pedals. Let's just see. And I'm like, all right, this amp's fucking fried. That something between moving my guitar head, my JCM 900 Marshall head, from the house to the show in Erie, it decided to shit the bed. So then this other guy has like this amp, nice guy. He used to play in a band back in the day called Black Rose Diary. His name is Josh. He's a good songwriter. He has a pretty nice sounding amp, actually, his head, but he came over and he goes, dude, do you want to just use mine? I'm like, I'm going to have to if you're cool with that. I said, this thing ain't making any noise tonight. So we put it up, and dude, it wasn't my guitar sound. You know how that fucking works. Like, your band sounds slightly different than like what you want it to sound like. So we were tight, but I felt shitty about the whole thing. Everyone seemed to enjoy it, but like in my head, I was like, well, there goes one of the 5 shows this year that I was really looking forward to playing. But I get the amp home late Friday night at midnight, and then Saturday morning, it's like, I gotta know what's wrong with it. So I pulled the fuses out and started looking at the fuses, and they were all fine. None of them were blown. And I haven't on a while, and all the tubes are lit up. And I'm like, what the fuck? So then I flip the standby. Amp works perfectly fine. It's like nothing ever happened. So I don't know what the problem was. Maybe something is working on breaking and hasn't broken fully. Maybe I started thinking like maybe my power cord wasn't plugged all the way into the amp and it wasn't getting the right juice and it was making a weird. I don't know. So now I'm left with this situation where I could pay probably a few $100, take it to this place in Hubbard, Ohio, and have this dude do a once over on it and like just kind of like a systems check. But I kind of don't want to spend the money either. So I don't know what it is.
When was the last time you replaced the tubes in it?
It's been a couple years, but I mean, like I don't use it a ton, you know. So there's really, unless something jostled around in there. I mean, the tubes are all lit when I put it in recently. When I turned it on,
yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're not like like one of them's not like failing or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I don't know. That's really weird. It could even be something. I don't know, man. There's so much that could be wrong with it.
Yeah,
but
that's my
wild.
story.
That sucks.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. I mean it's like when a vehicle doesn't start and then all of a sudden it starts. And you're like, well, shit. You know, maybe it was just tired, you know.
Until it doesn't start the next time.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the concern. And Troy's like, dude, you really should still go take that and get it checked out. And I'm just like, I don't want to spend the fucking money on it. He's not wrong, though, because we have a show with Off With Their Heads in Pittsburgh, which is a pretty big band. I think they're on Epitaph right now, but playing with a bigger band in Pittsburgh. And I think the show's going to sell out. So I don't want to have this happen in October. But this dude in Hubbard specializes in this stuff. But like I called up there hoping to just talk to him, and their voice messages is like, do not leave a message. We will not listen to your message. We won't call you back. You have to write us an email. And I'm like, wow, they kind of sound like fucking pretentious assholes. But just on a message machine like that, it just rubbed me the wrong way. So now I got to draft an email and just be like, yo, what do you charge for just a general service of an amp? You know, because he deals specifically like tube heads and shit. Like he knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, people like that, I guess they have a right to be pretentious if they want to be. But he's probably a really good dude. But you never know.
Dude, some of those people, like there's a guy that I talk to as a contractor.
Yeah.
And you can never get a hold of him by phone because like. So many people call him that his voice. The part of the reason is like his voicemail fills up like instantaneously.
Yeah.
So like it's constantly full. So I
could be anything.
Hopefully he's not a dick, but
he's probably not a dick. You can't run a business and be a dick. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't think so, unless he's got like some niche market. Or
well,
something.
He does.
I guess there's probably not a ton of people working on amps. So, but I don't know. I mean. Hate to judge someone till you actually talk to them.
not judging. It's just like it was a weird way to like,
Well, I get it, dude. I'd feel the same way. Like especially when you're trying, like when you have a problem and you're trying to get a hold of somebody.
You just want to talk with someone.
And I've encountered a couple of businesses or places that I've been trying to get a hold of that have in their voicemail, do not leave a message. Which is like the fucking weirdest shit. It'll be like, but usually it's like, call back later or something like that. But I guess maybe this guy checks his email more than he checks his voicemail, which is fine.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's probably like connected to a landline or something. It's probably a number he wanted to change because he had already built up like a reputation. And like, he's just like, I don't even listen to that machine anymore. Just send us an email. We're doing business in the digital world now. It's hard to say. But Troy uses the guy, and Troy swears by his ability. He says he's kind of middle of the road as far as price. He's not cheap, but he's not like overly expensive. So
yeah.
And I guess the good news is for anyone not familiar, there are very few Waffle Houses in Pennsylvania, and Hubbard, Ohio is kind of across the line. It's obviously across the line, but there's a Waffle House out that way, and it's like one of my favorite places to get food. So if I do end up taking my amp out there, I'll get to pit stop at Waffle House and get like, I don't know, some hash browns or something. But dude, that's it. Let's talk about games, Jake. We are, after all, a PlayStation podcast. This episode, as a precursor, is going to be relatively shorter than the last one or any of the other ones because we were so late in doing episode 291. This episode is going to be news points essentially from Wednesday through Saturday, and us just talking about what we've been doing the last like 4 days. Don't think that all of our future episodes are going to be similar in content. This one's going to be a little abbreviated just because of the nature of us pushing the show out a little bit and us recording essentially mostly late last week. So has really nothing to do with us pushing out the show because we're still going to try to record on the weekends. But it is what it is. So we talk about games that we're playing. And I have had this game on my wish list for a while. And I'm so sorry about that. I didn't know my sound was on. It's not. It's going through my computer. But this game called Jet: The Far Shore was a game that I thought always looked interesting, and it's a PlayStation Premium game or Essentials or whatever the middle class is, the middle of the road is. And I downloaded it, and I always thought like the graphics in the game, something about the game just kind of intrigued me. And essentially the story goes that you just go into a kind of like a hypersleep chamber with a couple other people, and you go like 1,000 years into the future, and then you just fly this jet plane around, and you land on different worlds and stuff. You're trying to preserve your kind or something. It's really interesting. It's a little artsy fartsy for me, a little indie's not even the right word. It's just some of the when you land is kind of cool, but it's all kind of quick time environment, like you walk around, you push and hold X to talk to people. I'm very early in the game, but I'm not feeling like this feels like a game. It just feels more like one of those experiences, right? There are different maneuvers you can use with the vehicle. Like you can do this thing where you hit your thrusters and it'll trigger different things that you fly over and give you a boost. And you're going through these really cool little landscapes, and you're dodging and weaving in between like a slalom, like a skier, like you're going through things, and eventually you get to your destination. You land on this new territory, and then you kind of talk to their people, and you walk around, and that's about it so far. I don't know. I'm glad I didn't ever buy the game so far, but I probably will play it a little more. But it's not like doing anything special for me right now. But it's called Jet: The Far Shore.
So is there any way to like die or anything, or you just kind of wander around?
I mean,
is it kind of like Flower? You just kind of wander around?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't died yet. I haven't encountered any enemies, so to speak. I don't. Maybe there's a timer eventually that you got to race through these things at a certain time, or maybe you get different ship upgrades that allow you to do things. I'm sure you run into like a dangerous race or something, right? Like a class of people. I don't know. It's fine. It's just
fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing in it yet. And it's not as bad as Control, but I mean, it's different. Jake, what are you playing?
So I beat, like I said last week, I beat Final Fantasy 16. So I kind of moved on, and I started playing. The fuck am I playing? Sea of Stars. So I started playing Sea of Stars, and I also dipped my toes into Quake 2.
Yeah.
So I started playing Quake 2 as well, because I said I was going to check that out. Quake 2 is, I know Troy's really high on the Quake remasters, but Quake 2 is like... So I didn't play the Quake 1 remaster, but Quake 2 is like a phenomenon as far as like PC gaming and multiplayer and stuff like that. So I wanted to check it out, and it's a really good remaster. It is hard with a controller. Like, these games are so much... I don't want to say better, but like...
With a mouse.
A mouse and keyboard just makes them so much easier, because the way that you move is really like fast and floaty, and like then like the aiming and stuff is really, really quick and twitchy. So and there's not like the auto aim that we take for granted on console is not I mean, they have auto aim, but it's like it's not really that big. It's not really a thing. So I had to tweak with as I always seem to do. So I'm playing this on Xbox just because it's on Game Pass and I didn't have to pay for it. But I always seem to have to tweak, and I don't know if the Sony version would be the same way, but I always seem to have to tweak the look feel on Xbox. I don't know what it is. Like, I have to change like how big the dead zone is. The dead zone is fucking huge in this game, and I have to like adjust the sensitivity and the acceleration and all this shit, and I hate it. Like, I wish I could just be like, there should be a way for me to just be like, make it feel like Destiny, and then just like boop, and it does it. Like, why is it that all of these first person games, why do they all feel different? Like, what? Like, you would think that there would be a package that they could download online to just drop into their fucking game for the look feel, and it's like, oh, do you want it to feel like this? Do you want it to feel like that? No, I'm just gonna make my own freaking look feel up, and it ends up being a miss, and I gotta tweak all these At least they have the settings in there I can tweak or whatever. But I will say it's entertaining, it's fun. I love those old those old id games. I mean, usually once a year I'll go back through and just rip through the original Doom, just because I love it so much. I don't play Wolfenstein 3D very often, but Doom 2, occasionally I'll play Heretic, and now Quake 2, which is pretty cool. So, but back to Sea of Stars. So I started playing that, and it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I heard, let's see, OpenCritic.
Like 20 some
hours. So Sea of Stars has an 89 on OpenCritic right now, which is probably about right. It's pretty good. I mean, this is made by the team that did The Messenger, which was a beloved indie title that was kind of in the vein of, Ninja Gaiden or something like that.
Yeah.
But this is like a JRPG kind of Chrono Trigger sort of game. And it's really interesting. It's got really cool pixel art graphics, isometric style, and you play as this brother and sister who are they just came out of the academy training to be these like basically these special warriors that there are only so many of them, I guess, because of how they're born or whatever. I don't fucking know. But and so you start on this adventure, and it's got some really cool... It's a true turn-based game, so like if it's your turn, you can just kind of sit there forever, and the enemies are never gonna... It's like Final Fantasy VII, where it's active time battle, so like if, it's your turn and you wait too long, the enemies will keep attacking you. This one, it's true turn-based. It's got this neat like rhythm timing mechanic where... I think like Legend of Dragoon had this and stuff. You might have played a game like this where when you go to attack, if you hit X at the right time, it'll do like extra damage or a second attack or something. Or like when an enemy is attacking you, if you hit X at the right time, they'll partially block it to like lower the amount of damage that you take.
Right.
It's got this neat like system where an enemy might be charging up to do like a big attack, and it'll bring these icons over their head and a power level, and the icons represent types of damage. And if you can do that damage on them before they do the attack, it'll either, if you do all of the icons, you break them all, it'll stop the attack completely. But if you only break a few of them, it will lessen the amount of power that the attack does, which is pretty cool. Because usually it's like, there are like similar mechanics in games before where there's like an interrupt mechanic or something, but it's usually like either they attack you or they don't.
Right.
Like in this one, it seems like you can partially interrupt it where they'll attack you still, but it'll do less damage. So there's a point in even trying to break some of them, even if you can't break all of them, which is pretty cool. And then the one final thing, I guess, before we move on is that there's this cool like combo mechanic where like 2 or more of the players in your party can kind of team up to do an attack. And so there's like this combo meter where like as you're playing, the combo meter will fill up, and it can fill up to 3 times. And you have different combo abilities that you can use to do like bigger attacks or to, you know, maybe do like a large healing action for your party or something like that. It's awesome though. I'm not really in the right headspace for it.
Yeah.
So I find myself like wanting to play, like I'm ready to play Starfield, if I'm being honest. So this is kind of just like keeping me busy until Wednesday. But but that said, I still think it's very good. It's very good. I think people who are into like JRPGs, especially like the 16-bit style from Super Nintendo to early PlayStation N64, you'll really like it. I think that it's pretty cool. The boss fights are pretty neat that I've done so far.
Is it incredibly challenging or anything?
That is the one thing. The combat, and I'm hoping that it will kind of ease up as my character levels and stuff. It's pretty, I don't want to say it's too challenging, but you definitely have to watch out at the beginning of the game, because you could get killed pretty easily if you're not careful, because basically all of the enemies will do enough damage to take like a third of your health away on most of their attacks. So you have to like be diligent about how you're healing and everything. But I think it's balanced pretty well. Like I've never felt like I'm gonna die. And the other cool thing about it is like if a character gets knocked out in your party, there are no Phoenix Downs.
Oh. To
give you a Final Fantasy term, where you can bring them back with an item or something. They have stars. Like you get knocked out, it's like fucking a cartoon. There are stars like circling their head. And based on how bad they're knocked out, there'll be more or less stars rotating around their head. And every turn, one of those stars disappears.
Yeah.
And then after all the stars disappear, they just automatically come back.
So
with
they just get
health.
like concussed.
Yeah. They like automatically come back with 50% health after the stars go away. So there's almost a strategy to that too, where like if you've got a character that's got like 5 health left or something like that, but your other 2 characters are good, it's almost a strategy to like just let them get knocked out and come back with full health, rather than waste some of your healing items.
Yep.
So like now there's, like I said, it's a gamble when you do that. Depending on the battle, you have to kind of take it in stride with the situation. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's really neat. It's got very good scores. People seem to like it. I know it's getting overshadowed by things like Starfield and Baldur's Gate and stuff like that right now. But I think that anyone interested in this type of 16-bit JRPG style game, I think that there's something for you.
Cool, man. Yeah, just a couple comments real quick. You said something about why can't every game just have like the Destiny setting? Because what makes Destiny fucking Destiny, man? Like that's, I agree. But
well, there's all the other stuff surrounding it with the like, with the, you know, the how you jump and move and stuff like that. All the weapons, how the enemies interact with you.
It would be really nice.
I'm talking specifically the aiming.
Right.
Specifically how the aiming
But like
works.
Call of Duty is the same way.
Else.
Call of Duty's fantastic with that shit.
Yeah, same thing. Call of Duty aiming.
They've cracked
should
the
be able
code.
to drop that bitch into any game I want.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but they keep that a secret because they know that helps them sell their games. It keeps them a leap
I'm sure it does
of
in
others.
some capacity.
But Sea of Stars sounds really cool. I don't know. I don't know what I don't even know what I'm going to play here. I'm really back into The Walking Dead now. I can't seem to make my mind up. But let's get on with listener feedback. Every show we talk about video games, and then you guys can write us, and we talk and bring up your points and your questions or your whatever. And you don't even have to be a member of our Patreon to enjoy this feature of our podcast. All you have to do is write us on our YouTube channel, leave a comment. We do prefer you do it on Patreon, which means that you're giving us $1 a month, but we don't expect it, but we appreciate that. But in any case, all is fair that is fair. One Black Talon writes in, longtime listener here. He writes in, maybe Jake can give us his thoughts on Starfield once he gets a chance to play it. I appreciate this question because it's a sentence and a question, but it also addresses the fact that we are not an Xbox podcast, right? So, but to One Black Talon's request, I think for sure we're going to have Jake talk about Starfield because it's one of the biggest games. It's a Bethesda game. Us Sony gamers aren't getting this game. Who knows if it'll ever, I don't think it will ever. Maybe in 10 years it might show up on PlayStation console or something. I don't know. But as it stands, there's no plan for this to come out on PlayStation. So I'm with you, One Black Talon. I kind of feel this is the first time in a long time as a Sony gamer, I feel like I'm missing out on something important that's going on over at my Xbox. This is the first time. I can't think of any other games that have hit Xbox that we didn't have. The only other time I felt slightly burned was when the second Tomb Raider game came out, and it was like a year early on Xbox. But at least I knew I was going to get it. But I was kind of like, God damn, like I just want to play that game. But I couldn't. But this one is out of that scope. It's not even going to fall under our umbrella ever, I don't think. It could, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if, especially since it seems like it's reviewing well, I'd be shocked if this ever came out on PlayStation, even though they had it running on PlayStation. But then, that all got axed whenever Microsoft purchased Bethesda or whatever.
Right.
You'll definitely, and I'm going to preemptively apologize to the listeners. You're going to, basically my input on the games we're playing probably for the next while is going to end up being Starfield. And I feel bad about that, but it's just those types of games are like all encompassing and they're usually long. So it's like, I'm sure you could probably go back to, if you were to go through all 291 episodes of the show and on games we're playing, just put like a hash mark down every single time I said Skyrim. There's probably a lot. And just over the years. And so like, I'm a big fan of their games, and who knows, maybe this game won't hit with me or whatever, but I'm excited to try it and start it. It seems to be sort of the talk of the town right now. I feel bad that it's not coming to PlayStation and that our audience won't be able to experience it because their games are typically like Skyrim was like, it changed the industry basically. Fallout 4 not so much, and obviously Fallout 76 was kind of a dud, but Fallout 4 I think was just because Fallout 76 I think was a different thing. Fallout 4 I think was just they just rested on their laurels after Skyrim and they didn't try to innovate. Well, Starfield seems like that innovation. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it works out. If you have an Xbox or you have a PC, you can play it. So it's not just on Xbox. If you have a gaming PC, you can play it on there. Unfortunately for all you freaking Mac nerds, it's probably not on Mac.
Yeah, dude. And we're going to get to that in a second too.
Anyway, yeah, I will definitely talk about it on the show. I don't know how much I'll talk about it, just because I don't want to spend a lot of time discussing something that our audience isn't able to play unless they specifically ask for more updates about it.
Right.
Just because it seems kind of it doesn't seem like good content for the show, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to hear your initial impressions when you finally crack that egg open.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
I think our listeners will as well, including one Black Talon. So thanks for writing in. And that was it for the listener feedback. And we appreciate you writing in. I have seen a slight lull in interaction with the show, which is fine. It's summer. It's busy. People are gearing up to hunker down here in the winter. And or maybe, we're just not tripping your trigger like we used to, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Some people move on. But thank you for listening to the show. And every show we get into some news points. Now, we don't have a lot of news points this episode because we covered most of them on 291. But there were a couple things that I wanted to talk about. And that being said, Jake, the first news point, we did discuss this briefly on the last episode, but the PS Plus price hike, the announcement. It's, we spoke briefly about this in how it's a really substantial increase in the cost of the services. But as it turns out, as a result, the share price for Sony stock is now up over 3% since this announcement. And it was indicated that Sony could see upwards of a $378 million profit because of this boost, this charge, this additional fee for Plus. And, it's one of those things where it's like, do they really need it? And then it's like, if you can make money that easily, they have to be careful, though, because if it's too high, they probably have done the math. Like the amount of people that are going to go to a lower tier or just not subscribe anymore is going to be offset by the increase, and they probably stand to gain money apparently. But they have to like anticipate some people leaving, right? The structure a little bit. Like, what's your take?
Yeah, I would think that you've got to be careful about this because I'm sure that there might not necessarily be a lot of gamers like this, but there is definitely a subsect of gamers like me that don't really need PS Plus because I don't play games online. So the only reason I have PS Plus really is for cloud saving and the occasional PS Plus extra game that I play.
Yeah.
Like they're fucking making money on me. So
oh yeah, same.
So like I think that it's possible that you're gonna see, I don't want to say a mass exodus over this, but you may see I don't know that, like there's probably a game going on where Sony's like, if we increase the price 30% and like how many subscribers can we afford to lose and have that still increase our profits,
right?
You know what I mean? Like they're probably running the numbers. Yeah. So like, because they're probably like, if we make it this high, if they make it too high, then they'll lose too many subscribers. If they don't make it high enough, they won't get the profits they want and nobody will leave. Mm-hmm. But if they make it like in the middle, they might lose some people, but they'll still make a lot of money on the back end. So I don't know. I think that this is really unfortunate, and I can see myself maybe dude, I think what they should have done, if I'm being completely honest, and maybe this is not going to work for them for, because of the different tiers and stuff, but I could see them maybe increasing the price of extra and premium by 30%,
but leave
35%. But leave essential, like still increase it, but maybe increase it like 10% or something like that, or 15%. Or like I said last week, you can maybe increase it a little bit this year and then a little bit next. Like just let everybody know, like, hey, we're going to have a tiered kind of price increase to keep up with inflation or whatever the fuck excuse you have. but then just say like, okay, over the next 5 years, we're going to have 3 price increases or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, here we are talking about it from the consumer's perspective, but from Sony's perspective, they're just like, fuck it, they're going to pay for it anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, we're going to make some money on it.
And that's like the ultimate business strategy, right? It's like, if you can make the money, make the money.
Yep.
Because they're probably not going to lose that many subscribers.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty interesting though. I don't like it, but
dude, I run into stupid stuff like this just with pricing my merch. Like my record, you know, when I released Gas Heart on vinyl, it was like, I know what I paid to have that done, and it wasn't cheap. And then it was like, but if I charge like what I would have liked to have charged, like $25 for that record, I probably would have lost a couple people buying it. And then it's like, if I lose 10 people, you know, I'm losing $50, but I'm gaining 100 by keeping it at $20. So I'm actually up $50 by keeping the price point at 20 instead of 25. You know what I mean? So it's a tough thing to do, but then it is a gamble because you're like, well, if I don't lose anybody by making it $25, then like I actually can make a profit on this fucking thing. But these guys are just raking in a profit. Like there's no, I don't want to say there's none. There's got to be some overhead, obviously with the network and all that stuff. But I mean, they're fucking Sony, man. Like they're not going to ever risk taking a loss, and they're well past that, I would imagine, on the PS Plus. So it's only profit. Like it's not like they have to make a decision where it's like, well, if we don't price this right, we're going to break even. You know, they're making money. It's like, how much more can they take as far as?
Do you notice too? They're doing this weird thing now where, like, and they've been doing this, and maybe I'm wrong, but does it not seem like there are certain games that you can play for free if you're a premium member, but not an extra member, that are not classic or streaming titles?
Oh, see, I don't know about that, but I know that does exist, but I'm not sure if it's, I mean, because the premium was supposed to be classics, right? It was supposed to be that they were going to gatekeep the classics. You couldn't
classics in the cloud streaming, right? So because I was just looking at the subscriptions,
it's like a Dragon now is like premium only or something.
Well, I think Like a Dragon, is it premium only? I thought it was on extra.
I'm just making an example. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because I was just looking at the plans on the PlayStation Store, because I was thinking like, well, maybe I ought to just renew my subscription right now.
It's like $100,
so that before the fucking price goes up. But I think that they said that if you're as long as you renew before November, your price stays the same. I think, even though like the price increase for new adopters is September 6th, I think if you're renewing, as long as you renew before November something, you still get the old price. I'm not positive. I was reading the blog post about this.
I don't know. All I know is like this conversation comes up way too fucking often with Sony about Plus. It's like, can't we just have some like some steadiness, some sensical, like logical, like, I don't know.
I mean, I get it though. Like literally everything is increasing as far as price goes, and I can understand why Sony would increase the price of Plus.
I would do the same if I were them.
Because it's like their easiest avenue for making money. You know, the easiest avenue for them to make money is when they charge people 30% to put games on their store.
Right.
But the second easiest avenue is for a PS Plus subscription that requires very minimal maintenance for them. But to be fair, that subscription does give you free titles every month that they do have to pay for. It's not just the extra stuff. It's even the essential stuff. They got to pay for those games.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I don't know what a game like what was the one that just came out that was really bad when it launched, the GTA, the goofy GTA,
Saints Row.
Saints Row. Like, I don't know what something like a Saints Row cost to have on Plus, but I'm sure it's millions and millions of dollars. So I don't know. I'm not defending Sony by any means. I have already mentioned that I don't think that this is a good price increase,
right.
But I can understand that it probably was going to go up at some point. I just think that the amount that they are increasing it is kind of crazy.
Well, Jake, one might ask, why the increase in the price, inflation aside? There's a YouTuber named Mystic, and he doesn't tote himself as being a leaker or somebody who outs companies for things that they're going to be doing or whatever, but he did indicate that he had it on good authority that Sony is bringing a new emulator to the PS5 and the PS4 for PlayStation 2 games. So maybe with this price increase, we see some sort of bonus added to maybe the service that could involve a PS2 emulator. I don't know.
I could see that mattering if it was like PS3 games, but PS2 games, I don't know how big of a splash that's really going to make. I mean, there's already some PS2 games that we can already get on there. Yeah, can we get them all? No. But now if they came out and they were like, we've got an emulator for PS2 games and here's the entire fucking catalog, that would be a different story. But if it's just like, we got an emulator and like, but then they don't have sort of like a release plan for, like, there has to be a benefit to this because they're already releasing PS2 games occasionally on the platform.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems to be like they need to come out and say, oh, well, this is going to increase our ability to release PS2 games more frequently or something like that. I don't know. But you could be right.
Well, Mystic might be right. Yeah.
Well, Mystic might be right.
But yeah, it's interesting. Well, the next news point, and it's something we kind of just brushed over again. And like I said, there's not a lot of news stuff, but that PlayStation Portal, the handheld, Sony announced a release date for this, and the release date is going to be November 15th. So that's going to go on sale before Christmas. This is opening. Let me just say this. They better market this thing. You know, like sometimes when you buy shit, it's like for example, Hero Quest. It comes with an expansion, multiple expansions. One is called Keller's Keep. Keller's Keep says specifically, you must have the Hero Quest original board game in order to use this, right? So like, you release the PlayStation Portal, which can't run a game on its own, and you put it in stores and it looks like a Switch, and it's around Christmas time, and how many grandmas and parents and grandparents are going to buy this for their kid, being like, oh, PlayStation for like $200, cool. And then like, they won't be able to fucking use it because they don't have a PS5. Is that a possibility, do you think?
I mean, it's always a possibility that grandmas be gramming, but I don't know that I don't know that this is really going to be that big of a deal. I would certainly hope that they, like, at worst case scenario, they'd be like, oh, it's like a controller or like a handheld or something like that. But yeah, you could be right. I mean, it could be that people buy it thinking that they could play games on it, but here it's just a streaming device. But I don't know. I mean, there's like the Logitech G Cloud and stuff like that are devices like this that
not
exist.
At Walmart.
Well, I don't know if they're at Walmart. That's a good point.
This will be the only thing that looks like a handheld at Walmart that isn't a handheld.
That's true. I don't know, man. I am curious about how this thing's going to go. I was actually thinking when I was playing Sea of Stars that like Sea of Stars would be an awesome handheld game. And I would love, like, I was almost thinking like, man, if I had that PlayStation Portal, this is the type of game I'd love to just play in bed.
Yeah. Because
it's not like I don't want to diminish it by saying it's not like a TV console experience, because it is. It seems like a great game, but that type of game, that like indie sort of 16-bit kind of aesthetic type game, I think just fits so well as like a portable handheld experience.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So like, part of me was thinking, because I'm borrowing my buddy's Switch, I was like, man, maybe it would just be better to play it on the Switch, because then I could like take it wherever and I could play it on the TV if I wanted. Yeah. So I don't know. I still am undecided on the PlayStation Portable or Portal PlayStation Portal, because the Portable is the PSP. So I'm undecided. I could see myself there are very specific instances where I could see myself wanting one of these, but then I think about like the number of times I actually play the Switch or the Vita when I lay down, and it's like 0. Basically, I get into bed and I go to sleep. I don't like to lay in bed. I'm not one of those people that really likes that, and I don't have trouble falling asleep. So I usually just like lay down and pass out, and especially if it's been a long day or whatever. And honestly, people, you shouldn't be using your screens in bed anyway. It's bad for your eyes. It's bad for your sleep. Don't do that. Unless you got that blue light filter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I thought of like I thought
it's a little bit of a side tangent.
Well, you talking about sleeping, I thought of this crazy premise for like a horror movie. And nobody knows what it means. But like, what if in the entire world, at a certain time, every day, now granted, day here is night somewhere else, but at a certain time, something clicks or happens where the people who are sleeping wake up, and every person on Earth is awake at the same time. Like that, I don't know how that becomes scary, but like I love the idea of everyone on the planet waking up and being awake and knowing everyone else is awake at the same fucking moment. Like, that'd be crazy. Think about that. It's never happened. It's never happened. But like, it'd be freaky if that happened.
It would be. I don't know. Would we even notice?
There would be some sort of effect.
Most people that were sleeping would just be like laying in their beds thinking like, man, why can't I sleep? And then like everyone in the world would be just doing the same thing. And then crazy. It would be like, and then the next day everybody would be at work and be like, man, I couldn't sleep last night. And they'd be like, oh man, me too. I couldn't sleep last night.
It's the start of a horror movie, man. Yeah.
End of the movie.
But but it keeps happening every night.
Every single day.
Yeah. And then like something's like,
well, what would be crazy is that like those people that couldn't sleep would have maybe eventually go fucking insane because they never got any sleep.
Them.
Because it always happens during nighttime or whatever.
There's something creepy about it. Anyways, don't steal that idea. I'm going to use it for something. All right, next news point. There is a let me see. What do I have here? What do my notes say? Oh, those are old notes. Sorry. Yeah. So I gotta jot down. See, this is where I need to become a better podcast host. Try to keep track of these timestamps. The next news point is I got all wrapped up thinking about everyone waking up at the same second. There's a predecessor. You know, the predecessor to this game isn't going to ever disappear. We're always going to hear something about it because it's in developmental hell. But the original Beyond Good and Evil has a 20th anniversary edition. Apparently, that was discovered on the U.S. ratings board. It's possible this could be releasing on PS5. Maybe this is happening to gauge actual real interest in Beyond Good and Evil 2 before they go forward any further. Or maybe this is just coincident. I don't know. Is this coincidence? I don't know.
I don't know if Beyond Good and Evil 2 is ever going to come out. You might be right. It could be one of those things where it's just like they're kind of at a crossroads financially and they're just like, let's just release this. We'll make a little bit of money and then we'll see how many people buy it. And if a lot of people buy it, maybe they'll be like, oh, maybe they'll reboot or refresh Beyond Good and Evil 2 or something. Mm-hmm. And if nobody gives a shit, maybe they'll just say Beyond Good and Evil 2 canceled. Fuck all of you. But I don't know if there was like a Kickstarter or something for that. So could be that there might be some consequences to canceling that game. I don't know why it's been in development for so long. You would think that at this point they would just fucking cancel it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a, you know, like a Starfield or something like that, where you're dealing with this massive universe with all of this shit that you got to remember and all these like branching paths and all this crap. From what I understand, Beyond Good and Evil is just like a linear kind of game. So what the fuck is taking so long?
I don't know. I mean, as a writer, as a creator, you can get kind of caught up in like not knowing when to just say, okay, it's finished. You know what I mean? Maybe in their mind, they have to create the best fucking thing ever made. And like, maybe it's just a hang up in that regard. Or maybe there's
but what I don't understand
direction.
is
maybe the story's not good. I don't know.
Like, I get what you're saying. A creative typically never thinks that their creation is complete. Almost ever. There's always something that could be done to make it better. This is how things get overproduced and stuff like that. But why is Ubisoft paying for this? Do you know what I mean? Like, you would think that eventually they'd be like, shit or get off the pot. But they're hanging on to this for some reason, and I don't understand why.
There's a news article on PC Gamer that says 15 years after announcing the sequel, Ubisoft is going to try to remember how to release a Beyond Good and Evil game. Come on.
That's funny.
It is funny. I don't know. I fondly remember playing the original on PC. Really enjoying it. I couldn't tell you right now what that game was about. I know there was like a pig guy. There was like a pig character with like a boar or something. And there's
a girl, right?
The woman, yeah, the girl is the main character. I remember it being really good. It was like a space game kind of in a way too. Like, it was awesome. But I mean, at this point, just come up with something new. I don't know. All right. Anyways, that was a news point. And the next news point that we have on PS This Is Awesome is that if you're going to be playing Baldur's Gate 3, Jake, on the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation blog has a nice little starter guide for figuring out what character class you might want to start as. So there's a lot of character classes, as one would expect in a game like Baldur's Gate. We have the Barbarian, we have the Fighter, the Monk, the Paladin, the Rogue, the Ranger, the Bard, the Cleric, the Druid, the Wizard, and the Warlock. So it's just like, fuck, man, this is a true D&D game. Like,
yeah.
What? I mean, like, you start a game like this, usually I'm going hack and slash Barbarian or Paladin, right? It's usually the way I usually go because I feel like that's the easiest, like, cheesiest class to be. But if I were going to play this game, and I probably am going to try it, we'll see. A couple that really I think would be fun would be like, I've never successfully been a wizard in any fucking game. Because I always kind of shy away because like you got to manage like NP and like you got to be strong and like you can just get trounced by like physical attacks, right? So, but I'd be tempted to be the warlock or wizard. You know, I think, and there is something that always has appealed to me about being like a rogue, like a thief, you know, and just being sneaky and fast. So if I were to venture out of my barbarian, fighter, paladin mainstay, I would probably go complete opposite and go with like wizard, warlock, spellcaster, maybe rogue or ranger, but probably wizard. Just fuck with it, man. What about you?
You should be a bard.
Dude, everybody knows the bard sucks. The bard always sucks. They're usually like just like singing songs during combat and like you know.
I think the one thing to think about, there might be guides honestly on like each class and how to sort of do your thing with them.
Mm-hmm.
But like The one thing to keep in mind is that you're going to have, like, your main character is just one of the characters that are in your party. So it's not like it's not like Diablo, where if you pick the wizard and the wizard's fucking hard, it's just you. It's like you have other characters that play with you, and the wizard is just one component of that. So you'll also have a fighter in your crew, and you'll also have whatever. So it really boils down to how you play the role-playing element of the game to be able to build that combat party that you really want. I don't know that, yeah, you might be the most attached to your character because it's the one that you built, but my understanding with the way that the game works is that you can play any of the characters that are in your party. You don't have to just play the guy that you created at the beginning. But obviously, don't take my word for it. I haven't played the game.
Oh, I did miss one. You can also be a sorcerer.
So you could be a wizard, a warlock, or a sorcerer.
Yeah.
Or,
well, the way they break
the
it,
fucking difference?
So I'll tell you. I'm on the site right now, and it's just a brief little write-up on each one, like not even a paragraph. It says that the wizard, the archetypical backline spellcaster, wizards have little going for them in terms of weapons or armor, but have the biggest and best magic abilities of any class in the game. Their high intelligence allows wizards to learn and utilize offensive attacks suited for just about any situation. Wizard subclasses focus on giving bonus attributes to the type of spells your character specializes in, though these choices won't limit your magical arsenal's potential in the slightest. The warlock says, drawing powerful magic abilities from otherworldly creatures by swearing loyalty. What could possibly go wrong? Plenty can go right in the warlock class. Not only can you wield strong offensive, support, and debilitating magic, the wisdom and charisma your patron has granted you gives you the wit needed to worm your way out of sticky social situations. The exact workings of your spells will vary depending on which being you swear fealty to. The Fiend, the Great Old One, or the Arch-Fae. And the Sorcerer, who looks way meaner and more like a bad guy. Some people are born talented. Sorcerers don't need to study or draw power from others for their magic. They're just that good. The meta magic feature unique to this class allows you to enhance your spells in new and exciting ways, creating personalized spells that, combined with your smooth-talking charisma, make a sorcerer useful in and out of combat. By subclassing to Storm Sorcery, Wild Magic, Draconic Bloodline, you can further infuse your spells with Tempests, Chaos, or even the power of dragons. So it's just like, shit, man, there's so much going on in this game. Like, I don't know. It's going to be meaty as fuck for anyone who wants to play it. But it does kind of scratch an itch that I really think I'm missing. I really am interested in this game. But do you have anything... Jake, what archetype, what class would you lean to?
Probably, if I had... Probably Rogue would be my guess. Just because I like that sneaky stealth kind of dagger style gameplay. Like when I play Skyrim, my favorite character build is a thief or rogue build. But it's always fun. Like it's always fun to do the default fighter build. But I think that warlock sounds pretty cool, having the magic, but also having like the charisma and the dialogue capabilities and stuff. Yeah, I think would be really neat because there is something satisfying to be able to skill check your way out of like a combat through like dialogue or whatever. You know? So
being spry.
But yeah, I think that like looking at that list, the first one that jumps out at me is the rogue, as far as like what I would probably pick.
What do they say about the rogue? I mean, everybody knows what the rogue is, but what do they say? They say, God, the paladin, the rogue. I don't like the way the rogue looks. I'll tell you that. The picture they give me, he looks like an elf. Looks like he's highfalutin. Looks like he's like...
Might be an elf.
He probably fixes tube amps in Hubbard, Ohio. It says, if your motto is the best defense is to not get hit, you'll feel right at home in the rogue class with high dexterity and plenty of stealthy, evasive movement and combat skills. What better way to destroy your foes than to slay them before they even know you're there? Subclasses all build on the rogue's natural strengths. Thief gets extra actions each turn. Arcane tricksters use magic to befuddle with illusions and distractions. Sounds like Loki. And assassins are all about efficient, sneaky kills. Yeah, it does sound like a class that you would like to play. You like those Dishonored games where you can stealth through shit.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the bard. Well, the cleric is also kind of magical, but I think they're more focused on like healing spells.
There's like white magic, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, let's move on to the next news point. If the listeners are going to get Baldur's Gate 3, what character class best suits you? I'm curious what you guys and girls may want to play as your first go-round. You create a character. That's part of the fun of the game. That's like the first 3 hours is sitting there wondering what you're going to call them, what you're going to make them look like, what's their backstory, right? What are they?
Yeah.
Are they male? Are they female? Are they in between? It's going to be interesting. Yeah, super cool. So, all right. Let's see here. So the next news point is kind of just it's just a news point. I didn't see any sites really talking about this, but Gematsu had a thing about this new brawler that looked a lot like Streets of Rage 4, and it's releasing in 2024. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up called Mayhem Brawler 2: Best of Both Worlds. It was announced for PS5. You guys know I'm a sucker for beat 'em ups, so this actually looked really cool to me. And I really like this art direction over the TMNT art, the pixel art shit that's been happening. I think this game looks nice. The smoothness of the artwork in general. I think maybe they were taking some notes from the Streets of Rage game, or maybe Streets of Rage 4 took notes from the first Mayhem Brawler. I'm not sure, but I do like the idea of more beat 'em ups coming our way because they're quick to play through. I'm still working on TMNT. You do a level in like 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you just set it aside, get your fill. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. Jake, have you ever heard of Mayhem Brawler?
I haven't. I was just scrubbing through some video of them. It looks cool. I mean, the art style looks cool.
Yeah.
I don't play a ton of these games. I mean, the last one that I really played that I actually really liked was Shredder's Revenge. Mm-hmm. But when I was a kid, I used to play Streets of Rage on my Sega Game Gear. Yeah. So that's there's that.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know. I think they're good. I think they are good. Sometimes the combat is a little bit kind of thin for me. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why I liked Shredder's Revenge, is that they added some mechanics to it that made it feel a little bit more modern, as far as like the way that you can jump and dodge and stuff like that isn't traditionally in like your Streets of Rages and those types of games. But that might be off-putting to a traditional beat 'em up lover. So but I don't know anything about Mayhem Brawler. I don't know, like, other than looking at it and like kind of watching some of the gameplay. Is it something that I'm going to like run out and play? Probably not, just because beat 'em ups aren't like my central game. But it's something I might be willing to try if I have access to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And for anyone who hasn't played Streets of Rage 4, I still think that is a banger of a game. If you're at all interested in beat 'em ups, that is the way to go. Next news point, Jake. I'll tell you, this is something right in my wheelhouse, something I know, something I understand. This is not the Wizards of the Coast G.I. Joe game, but we got a out of the blue trailer from Hasbro Games. It's called G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra. It is a G.I. Joe beat 'em up game, which is long overdue, to be honest. But the thing about this, I have a lot of opinions on this already. You're not going to believe this, but this is happening, but I don't think it's coming to PlayStation. So I think it's coming to Switch and PC, not even like PC Steam. So I can't, on my Mac, I can't play it. I don't know. I might have to rent your Switch from you or something, or borrow Seth's or something just to play this game. They've done some right with this, it looks like, and the artwork doesn't really do anything for me. It's clearly the characters that I love. There's a new theme song that they made for G.I. Joe, which doesn't hold any nostalgic value for me. It just kind of seems campy and cheesy. But I wish that like it wasn't pixel arty, if that makes sense. Like it's a little too pixely. It looks like in the trailer, it looks like it's running at like less than 30 frames a second. Like it looks really fucking choppy and shitty and slow. I love that this is a thing because it looks like they're moving in the right direction with a G.I. Joe game for once. But, you know, granted, like Gung Ho and a lot of those guys, Snake Eyes and stuff, would like punch and fight people. But like, I mean, come on, man. G.I. Joes have laser weapons. So like this whole thing is just like Duke and Scarlet and everybody just punching bad guys. And it's like, I don't know that beat 'em up is the best way unless you give these guys some specials that they can break out their laser rifles. You know, which would be awesome if that's like how they utilize their specials. But I don't know, Jake. I put a link to the trailer here. Do you have anything that you'd like to add about this? It looks a little
I think
jank.
it looks bad.
Yeah.
But I hope that it, like, for your sake, I hope that it plays well. But I don't like the way that it looks. When I say it looks bad, I don't mean that I think it looks like a bad game. I'm just saying that, like, I think that it visually looks bad.
Right. I agree.
So that's really the I guess the extent of what I have to say to it. I think G.I. Joe is a good I think that there are a couple types of games that G.I. Joe would fit really well in. One of them is a beat 'em up because of, like, you know, you could have the different characters and things like that. They could drop in characters whenever they wanted. Yeah. They could do a G.I. Joe fighting game might be kind of interesting.
Like a Street Fighter game, yeah.
Yeah, because you could have all the different characters from G.I. Joe fighting each other. They all have their own unique skill set and everything like that. Obviously, you'd have to get around things like, you know, ranged weapons and stuff other than special attacks. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. The last thing is that, and I know this sounds stupid, but G.I. Joe would almost be like an awesome Lego game.
It would be. Where all the collections.
Where, like, yeah, so you can get all the different, like, you can collect all the different things from the G.I. Joe games, the vehicles, the characters, the, you know, all their different, like, armor sets and, you know, from the different eras and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that, I don't know why, I guess it's TT Games, why they would do a G.I. Joe game, but I think that it would be kind of cool. I just don't know that it's relevant enough for Lego to be interested. But because G.I. Joe really isn't relevant anymore. It's only relevant to people like, you know, you and like people my age and stuff that actually were around when it was big. And obviously, even when I was a kid, it was still big, but I was on sort of the tail end of its heyday, if that makes any sense. And I'm 36 years old. So I don't know. Like, I think we had this conversation on the podcast before. I think all of the new G.I. Joes that are being sold to fucking 30-plus-year-olds. I don't know that, you know, a 9-year-old is buying a $25 G.I. Joe. Yeah. But I could be wrong about that. I mean, how can you really know?
Dude, there's a lot of really weird. Yeah, and just because I know G.I. Joe well, there's a lot of really weird things in the gameplay trailer, and just some quick things that I'm seeing is like it looks like Duke has a special where like he calls in like a fire strike where missiles come down, right? But the bombs dropping have COBRA logos on them. Why? Because you couldn't make one that has like a star on it? Like you already had them for some other part of the game and you're just reusing that missile? Like, so there's that. It's weird. They are using a lot of the Cobra Troopers, and they've got different versions of the Cobra Troopers, different colored ones. It seems like the pickups are kind of weird. They have a Cobra Trooper throwing dynamite, and I'm like, man, like, maybe they do use Firefly, but Firefly's the demolition expert for Cobra. Like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he is a final boss, but the pickups are just different colored floppy disks that you're picking up. Is that Intel?
Interesting.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. It's really weird. Scarlet calls in a missile strike, and they just look like regular missiles that stun people. They do have trouble bubbles, which are like the little flight pods. Snake Eyes has timber, which is fine. I don't know if that's a special or not. There's female troopers, Cobra troopers, which is fine because if you collect G.I. Joe the Classified, the Valkyria troopers just got released, which are it's a double set. It's 2 female Cobra officers. But I'm not sold on the graphics and the direction of this. I left a comment on this under our podcast thing, and on this trailer, there's a lot of, and I'm only going deep into this because G.I. Joe is like, it's my jam, dude. I've got G.I. Joes everywhere. A lot of the comments on this are just like, did Roadblock just throw Destro down and execute him? ? You know, stuff like, reminds me of the Teenage Ninja Turtles game. The overall impression seems to be thumbs up. Like, G.I. Joe fans are kind of happy. But now people are also writing like, it looks like these all have the same visual art style. And then someone brought up a point that I brought up, kind of, is like, why does it seem like Cobra is defending the G.I. Joe headquarters? Like, it seems like they got some of the stuff backwards on some of these gameplay. Like, this gameplay, like, Duke wouldn't ever launch Cobra missiles at Cobra. That's weird. And then people are citing the PSAs, like, who wants a body massage, you know? But it's weird. And this person writes, it can't be worse than Operation Blackout, where they don't flinch if you hit them. That's hilarious. Then someone's like, did they have to change the theme song? You know? Yeah, right. Joe's use guns and tanks, not their fists. That's funny.
Dude, I just think that G.I. Joe fans are starving so bad.
We are
for anything that, like, you guys will just justify anything that comes out. It's like
I don't understand why it's so hard for someone to latch on to fucking G.I. Joe and make a decent game. Not even I'm saying give us a 5 out of 10 game. Give us a 5 out of 10. Everything has been one garbage games for the.
It should not be that fucking hard to make a G.I. Joe game. I don't understand why. Now
this could be decent. I don't
want to assume this game is bad. I don't want to assume it's bad. It could be good, but I think that it's pretty crazy that we haven't had one good G.I. Joe game. One, not even, like, just good. Not great, not amazing, not the best game of the year.
But you buy it and don't regret it. Good.
Right. You just have fun playing it, and you're not, like, telling yourself the whole time, you know, you're not trying to convince yourself that it's a good game, which I think is what most G.I. Joe fans are doing with these games that come out. It's like they're trying to convince themselves that Operation Blackout is a good game.
It got so bad. Like, dude, it's been so bad that people were buying Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint and creating G.I. Joe characters in that game. Like, that's how thirsty the G.I. Joe community is to have a real G.I. Joe game that's good. Like, hopefully the Wizards of the Coast game's good. You know, I mean, why are you picking up floppy disks for fuck's sake in this game? Like, here's the thing. It's like, maybe that makes sense. But, like, you would think, like, you could be picking up file cards for other characters that you can go peruse after you get done with a level and read people's backstory. It'd be so easy. They're already written. You have Hasbro's license here. Hasbro Retro Arcade stamped on this trailer. Freedom Games is making it. Maple Power Games is making it. Coming in 2024. They're dropping Cobra bombs on Cobra. Maybe that is like a joke that Cobra Commander can't fucking aim his weapons, but why is Duke calling it down? You know what I mean? Why is he like, and then Cobra missiles hit? Like, what is going on? Like, you don't have to be intelligent to make a good G.I. Joe game. It's already there. Everything is there already. You got the good guys, you got the bad guys, you have characters. Every single character is visually interesting and different looking. They all have, I've said this so many times, they all have their special moves. They have what they're good at. Like Roadblock, for instance, is a fucking chef. You could do something funny where like he fucking makes like a fucking cake or something. I don't know. Or he cooks up a meal and throws it at somebody. Just like show us that you understand the characters. Just show us that you fucking love this property like we do. The one thing that I do want to say is I thought at one point Kevin Smith got involved in SKYBOUND, had some sort of acquisition of G.I. Joe license. SKYBOUND Entertainment, G.I. Joe. And if this is true, yeah, so it is. So this was SKYBOUND, the comic, says it was announced that Real American Hero, one of the largest running non-superhero comics of all time, will return November with issue number 301. Legendary series writer Larry Hama is joined because they ended at 300. So SKYBOUND is owned by Kevin Smith. They also have a games division, SKYBOUND. I forget what it's called. SKYBOUND, what is it? Games. But they're the ones who took over and re-released the definitive edition of The Walking Dead. It was SKYBOUND. So they are at least going to be releasing the comics, and having somebody like Kevin Smith behind a property like G.I. Joe can't fucking hurt at this point. So if he's involved at all, man, I don't know. I don't know if he's involved. This could just be like an obvious like money grab for their sake. But so I don't know. It's so fucking on the edge of being a thing that could like be. The 6-inch action figures have sold so well. Hasbro are pumping them out like crazy. They're just pumping them the fuck out. So there is an interest. There's a 100% an interest in these games, or in the franchise, but it's not how it's being served right now. It's just, you know, we're being taken advantage of as fans of the property. At least with the Ninja Turtle side scroller beat 'em up, you can tell like there's homage to some of the older Ninja Turtle games. There hasn't been a successful G.I. Joe game, so maybe that's what they're trying to figure out is like, how do we do this? Like at least TMNT had good games, you know. I don't know. Ghostbusters, whatever, maybe had some decent games in the past, like serviceable games at least. G.I. Joe has not had anything like this. Their movies have all fucking sucked. You know, for as much as I want to like them, and it's weird because it's such a good property. Like that's what I don't understand. Like it's actually the most intelligent property of them all. I was watching some of the older G.I. Joe cartoons again, and I think I brought this one up before, where Cobra Commander found a way to destroy U.S. currency. And then he took over everybody's television and he said, listen, I'm sorry, but bring your valuables to Extensive Enterprises and we will give you the Cobra dollar, which is better than the money you just had. So in the back, they're spray painting shitty metal to look shiny and nice, and they're stamping Cobra Commander's face on it. And these people are wheeling in their jewelry and giving it to Cobra in exchange for the Cobra dollar and the Cobra coins. And G.I. Joe's like, fuck, we got to put an end to this. And like, so Scarlet goes undercover and she poses as like this businesswoman who has a lot of assets, and she's dealing with Cobra because she's going to hand over all of her money, but she just wants to take a look at the Cobra's long-term goal for their money. And she's posing as this businesswoman, and Cobra bring her into her area, and then she pulls her mask off and she's like, I know what you're fucking up to, I'm Scarlet, and you guys are found out, you know, and the evil twins try to stop her. And it's like, dude, what a cool fucking premise for like a 30-minute TV cartoon that I had no idea what I was watching as a kid, because I didn't understand, you know, money. I didn't understand how that shit worked, but What a cool thing to do. Like, Cobra Commander's come up with a weather dominator. He tries to, like, manipulate the weather and convince people into, like, making him, like, getting, like, millions and millions of dollars from the country of the U.S. He's like, if you don't pay me, like, $500 million, I'm going to affect the climate so bad that I'm going to flood California, and I'm going to flood, you know, the glacial whatever are going to melt. And this is like in the 80s, and like Cobra Commander's like coming up with this fucking shit that like is now relevant today. And it's like, you can't take one of these storylines and make a fucking video game out of it. Unbelievable. I'm so annoyed. Whatever. I shouldn't have put this on the news point because I'm so fucking invested in this. Anyways, I'm still excited that it's happening. I won't have a way to play it, it looks like, but I don't know, dude. I'll take a beat 'em up at this point. Like you said, Jake, I'm thirsty for something G.I. Joe related. There's no new games to announce because we already talked about them on the last episode, which we recorded on Wednesday and released on a Wednesday night. We're recording this on Sunday, so there's not been a whole lot of time in between. And that's it for the show, Jake. I don't have anything else. I've got nothing else for you or for the listeners. Not a lot of news, but a longer episode than I thought it was going to be because I went on a tangent.
Sure.
There, so sorry about that. But do you have anything else you'd like to say? Do you still think that doing the show and releasing it on Wednesday is a good idea? Have you sat on and listened?
I think so. Yeah, because I think it'll just work better for our schedules. We won't have to deal so much with the moving around of the podcasts and stuff. Mm-hmm. The last few weeks have just been hard. So it'll give us a little bit more time to get things sort of situated. We'll be able to release most weeks. We'll be able to release our episodes a little early for our patrons. And yeah, I think that it's good.
Good. Yeah, I think it's a strong call. And you know, if things change, hey, the good news is we can always change stuff because it's our show. So yeah. All right. Well, dude, I'm gonna let you go for the rest of the day. It's what is today? Sunday?
Yep.
Yeah, it's Sunday. Recording this on Sunday. I'll have it up for the patrons by the evening. So you guys will get your episode on Monday morning, and then everybody else will have to wait till Wednesday morning to listen to the show. But if you're listening to this, thank you, and don't forget to share it with your friends. It's about all I have as well. You guys have a great, I hope you had a nice Labor Day weekend and didn't work too hard. And we will catch you next week with another episode of PS This Is Awesome. So thank you, and give it some thought. Going over to the Patreon. Give it some thought. Go over there. $1 a month. It goes a long ways. We appreciate it. With that out of the way, Jake, like a boy and his blob, A Plague Tale Requiem, and Ark the Lad. P.S.
P.S.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.